Hi there. I'm Kevin Chambers, the creator of RideSheet, and in this video, I want to talk about RideSheet and reporting. In other videos, I've talked about the goals of RideSheet, that it's meant to be a useful tool in operations from the moment you take a trip request all the way through to providing the driver manifest to drivers and then getting that information back into RideSheet so that you can use it all for reporting. Well, what actually happens when it's time to run those reports? Well, there's a few different ways we can handle that, and we're going to get into it here. I have here on the screen the trip archive tab of RideSheet. So this is where trip information is archived so that it can be directly run in reports. And we can see we've got a few trips here. And there's also a run archive tab, and it's the same idea, but for runs. Vehicle utilization, how long the vehicle was in active use, and so on. Now, how do I take this information and turn it into something I can use for reports? One way to do that is you can just copy out this data and put it into another Google Sheet and do whatever you like with it. You can summarize it, you can aggregate. It's really just a couple of clicks away. You can take a tab, copy it to a new or existing spreadsheet, and away you go. You've got a fresh copy and you can manipulate it, play with it, and run aggregation formulas on it. You can insert charts on looking at the data. As you can see here, there's a lot of charts that are already built into Google Sheets that you can point at RideSheet data. And you can do all this yourself at any time. And it's largely because the data in RideSheet is in a clear, open format. Another way is to export the data out and pull it into another system. That is very easy to do. You can just download the data. The most common way to do that would be to export it into Excel. So I've done that earlier here, and here you can see what that looks like. Here we are in Excel, and it looks basically the same. It's all the same data. And once you've got it into Excel, then all you need to do is perform the same spreadsheet actions to aggregate the data, produce graphics, charts the same way or similar to how you can do it in Sheets. Now, there's also a third way, and this is how we do it at FullPath with our clients. That's using Data Studio. Data Studio, formerly known as Looker Studio, is part of Google Workspace at no additional cost, and it lets you create reports from a wide range of data sources. That includes Google Sheets. So here, I just threw together a report real quickly that has data from our sample ride sheet. And I just created one table here that has data from trips and another one that has data from runs. It was very easy to create. I'm in edit view here, but if I switch to the standard view, this is what it looks like, and this could be printed off very quickly. I also, in addition to creating these couple of tables, I also created a second page that is a heat map of pickup locations. So again, this is just sample data, but here you can see a heat map of where pickup and drop off locations happened. Now, let's take a look at what RideSheet can do for NTD reporting. So I have here a sample report that has both vehicle information and trip information you can see over here. So this comes straight out of RideSheet. Everyone's report will look a little different, but this is just a good sample of what things could look like for any particular agency. So this is vehicle utilization, and you can see here that I have a list of vehicles, and for every vehicle, I have their odometer readings at the beginning of the month, at the end of the month, and then what those total vehicle miles are, and then also that broken out into non-revenue and revenue miles. And I have the same thing here for hours. And then I have a grand total here at the bottom across the entire fleet. So that's cool. And that comes out of RateSheet, and you can get this at the end of the month very easily. But you can also do more with Data Studio. So I'm just going to click on one of these rows here. I'm going to click on vehicle A. You can see now it's now in bold and the other vehicles are grayed out. And I'm going to click on this button to drill down into this data. So having done that now, I can see all the drivers who drove that vehicle in the time frame. And I can pick one of those drivers and further drill down into the actual days that they operated the vehicle. So that's just one example of being able to not only have the data so that you can just run your reports, but you could also explore the data and see what's going on with your services that may not be immediately obvious. Or if you see things are strange or you're wondering about a certain thing, you don't necessarily have to go back into RideSheet and dig into all the details. You can look at this summary data and start from the top and work your way down into the details. Now, let's take a look at trips. So here we have another page that has information about trips in the same time frame. And I have a couple pie charts here that just show the different results of all the trips. And then another pie chart with the different trip purposes. So these are kind of a nice, easy visual, but then I have the numbers over here on the right. And then down below, I have a list of the specific trips that were served. Now, this is nice. And again, you can just get your numbers out. We have our grand totals of trips broken down by different outcomes. But I can also look at this data in some really interesting ways just using Data Studio's built-in capabilities. So one thing I can do, for example, is I can just filter down to a particular trip result. So let's say I want to know more about the late cancels. So I can just click on late cancel. That filters all the other widgets here that I have on the page. So now I'm only looking at the early cancels here, but I can see that the early cancels were broken down between trip purposes of other and medical. And I can see the specific trips and when they happened down below. And that's because all these different widgets are connected together. And when you filter one thing, it also filters the other. So I could filter even further here on these late cancels and just look at the medical trips that were late cancels. And now I can see those here. And then I can reset and go back to just seeing everything. So this ability to slice and dice data and to dive in and to see different parts of your data and understand it better can be really interesting and really useful. And again, this is just built into Data Studio. There's no extra cost or any of that. And Data Studio is itself built into Google Workspace. So these are things that you get with RideSheet that can make your life a lot easier without a lot of extra expense to get them. Now, using Data Studio is a more involved process. You need to set up data sources and then connect those data sources to reports. It's a few steps, but everything you need to build your own reports is available to you. There is documentation, sample reports, and videos that show how people can use Google Sheets with Data Studio. And at the end of the day, it produces nice PDF-ready or dashboard-ready reports. So that is, in a nutshell, 3 ways that you can get data out of RideSheet and put it into whatever system you need for reporting. One thing I want to emphasize here is that all those different possibilities really are built upon the base of good data. And that's what RideSheet really excels in, is not only allowing you to produce the reports the ways you want to, but also making sure that the data you report on is actually good data. So the reports will not only look nice, but they'll really have data that you can stand behind as an organization. Okay, that's it. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.